How we doing? All right, let's close this up. All right, so we're getting down to the last branch of Avidya. And so we're almost done with that tree. But all of these things that we are experiencing in Avidya are these blocks that we have in our life that we need to move out of the way before we can actually begin to put in like our affirmations or positive thoughts, all of those things. Because what happens is it's sort of like a battery. You have to discharge some of the battery in order to put back positive charge. So we need to know all of this stuff that is stopping us, and we have to go in and pull the weeds before we can put in new seeds of grass to actually really begin to move ahead in our lives, right? So the fourth branch of Avidya is downright fear. It just is what all of the things that you're afraid of, all of the things that you have told yourself when it comes to doing things that you know you need to do, but for some reason you just can't do them. You find an excuse as to why you didn't get it done, right? So it's called procrastination. We procrastinate because the true underlying cause of procrastination is fear. And these fears get a hold of us, and they talk us out of everything. We hear it all the time. We do it all the time. We allow the mind to just run rampant. It runs rampant, and it's always, always sabotaging us. So the purpose of us doing yoga is to quiet the mind, to be able to move those things out, right? These fears hold us back, and they move into our head, and then they sound like this. I can't do that. I'm not smart enough. I'm not that way. I can't do that. I can't do it that way. I'm not that way. I probably won't get that. It's too hard. I can't do that. It's too hard. Might be easy for her, but it's not easy for me, right? I'm not tall enough. I'm not blonde enough. I'm not dark-haired enough. I'm not short enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not whatever. I'm not this, right? And so what happens is all of these fears, all of these things play in our mind like a computer, because our mind acts like a computer on our body. And like a computer, you just install a software. You don't know how it works, but you just know that when you need it, it works, right? And what about a virus? It's also a software. Did you know that viruses are also software? And it goes in there and it eats up silently. It eats up your programs and things like that. Doesn't a virus do that? That's what it does. Well, that's what a virus of the mind is. Fear. Fear is a virus of the mind. And so it eats up all the positive stuff that we have ever been, that we ever grew up with, right? Let me give you an example. When you were a child, let's say from the ages of 1 to 7 maybe, if you can think back to then, did you ever stop to think about not being able to do something? Did you ever tell yourself you weren't able to do something? No? Yes? At the age from birth to about 7 years old, you didn't know you couldn't do it. Truly, you didn't know you couldn't do it. You would try things, and you didn't know you couldn't do it. Now, here's the tricky part about this. The sad part about that is this. You kept trying things, right? You kept trying things, and perhaps you didn't succeed in your eyes. You didn't succeed in your eyes, right? So then you tried it again, and again you didn't succeed, right? In your eyes. This is all in your eyes. And then you tried it again, but by the third time, now you've made a decision. Now you've actually attracted that belief, and it becomes part of your first, second, and third chakra. Now you think, I'm not good enough. But nobody told you you weren't good enough. You decided that that's what you were going to think based on 3 times of experience. Yes? And so what happens is, in Avidya, is that we need to understand that we are the ones that brought those thoughts in. Your mom, your dad, and everybody didn't walk around and say, you're stupid, and if they did, I'm sure they didn't mean it, right? But you took it on to mean that, yeah? So what you put in here in your first and second chakra, you began to live your life from. And those are all those fears. Fear right now as an adult is fear of lack. You're afraid not to have money. You don't pay your bills on time because you're afraid that if you pay your bills, you won't have enough money. But see, that's a cycle that just keeps, that just keeps you down and down, sort of like an undercurrent. When you've been swimming around in the water and you've ever been caught in an undercurrent, it goes opposite and it brings you down. Well, that's what those thoughts do. The fear of lack of money, the fear of lack of resources, the fear of lack of whatever, right? And so we buy into those. Let me give you another example. How many of you guys used to run relay races when you were little? Yeah? And from those relay races, what did you concur? What were the thoughts that came after running all those relay races? What did you buy into? Did you win all the time?
Yeah.
You won all the time. So what was the thought that came out of that?
That was like, I was good at it.
Yes, exactly. That you were a good runner. Okay, so she was good at it. She was a good runner. So she bought into that belief, and probably to this day, she's still a good runner. Right? Do you still believe that? See? Now, what about somebody else? Did somebody else do relay races and not win? Everybody, did you win?
Yeah, well, sometimes, like not all the time.
And did you make any sort of an assumption?
Well, no, I was just like, it was not the time, or like, I wasn't, well, if I was not that prepared.
Okay, and so did you come away with that now thinking that you're a good runner, or you're not so good?
I'm not a good runner.
Huh?
But I'm not a good runner.
Okay, so she came away with the opposite feeling. You see that? So based on our experiences, and experiences are a little bit, right? Because you could have kept running, right? Based on our experiences, we take away from that, right? We just take away from that. Let me give you an example. We give up too easy. We give up too easy, right? Fear makes us give up really easy. Do you know how many times, do you guys all know who Abraham Lincoln was?
Yeah.
How many times did Abraham Lincoln run for president before he actually became president? That was in your history books, guys. Woo! Good to you're not a history major, huh? 14 times.
Wow.
14 times. Do you think that he was told by people, what are you running for? You're going to lose again. He was told, right? Do you know how many times, approximately, Thomas Edison tried before he actually got it right on the light bulbs? And thank God he kept trying, because otherwise we'd be living in the dark. How many times?
100? Yeah. More than 100?
1,000, at least 1,000 times. At least 1,000 times he came up with a different formulation that didn't turn the lights on. But he never gave up. He never gave up. See, the difference between a winner and a loser is a loser gives up and a winner keeps going till he wins. That's the only difference. So when we realize that these fears, the scary part about that is this. If you think that you can't, you won't. if you think you can't